Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast, where our mission is to encourage, equip, and empower every woman on her faith journey with Jesus Christ. Today, we are honored to hear from author, coach, and speaker Tanya Prince. She and our podcast host, Mykelti Bloom, discuss her newly released book, Designed for Purpose, which is a reflective, guided journal to help us understand our purpose. She walks us through the 6 categories of the daily reading to reflect on during our time with the Lord. Can your purpose change throughout your life? Tanya and Mykelti get into it, and it is so fascinating. Tanya also shares about a season of discouragement she walked through and how that ultimately led her to pursuing her own purpose more fully. This conversation is so inspiring, and you're going to want to share it with a friend. And now to our conversation. Well, Tanya, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on to talk all about your very newly released book, right? When did it come out?
Last week, Tuesday, January 28th.
Okay, so hot off the press, literally hot off the press. I'm so excited to talk about your book, to learn more about you. We are new friends as of today, getting to meet you for the first time. And you came to Thrive Conference for the first time this last year and had a table, got to learn more about BTG. And then that's how we were connected. And it's like, yes, let's have you on the Bridging the Gap podcast just to share more about who you are, more about what you do, because you are a purpose coach.
I am,
which I really want to hear you talk more about that in a bit, because that's different than a life coach, different than everything else. And I love that, a purpose coach. But I'm just so excited and honored to have you on the show and can't wait to dive into more about who you are. But before we do that, I would love for you just to introduce yourself and share a little bit more to everyone listening about who you are, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm a mom, first and foremost. I have a daughter who's about to turn 16 and get her license. I have a son who's 13. And professionally, I've always worked for large organizations, from finance to continuous improvement to organizational transformation. But I've also been involved in ministry along the way, from children's ministry to women's ministry. And the Lord's just always kind of put in me this desire for growth, for transformation. And I've just been able to sort of move that from the business setting to the people world and to the ministry world in some ways. And so we'll talk more as we get into my book, but that's kind of really what led me on this path, was sort of that skill set that the Lord has taken in me and cultivated in a new direction. But I grew up as a believer my whole life, and I live here in Brooklyn Park, just outside the metro, and it's been an exciting journey. I am a purpose coach. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach and trainer and speaker.
I love that, purpose coach. So what is the difference then between a purpose coach versus a life coach, or someone that is just helping, a career coach or something like that? What is that difference?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, for me and for believers, it's really centered in faith to start with, right? So really believing that we're made for something more, that we're uniquely designed, crafted, created for a unique role in this world. So it's less about like a life coach where it's like I have these goals, or I'm trying to get here in my career. It's really stepping back and saying, how was I uniquely designed by God? Whether you're a believer or not a believer, right? But how am I uniquely crafted? And what really builds me and makes me thrive in this world, and how do I step into that?
I love that. And I think when I remember when I was in high school or in college, people started talking to me about like, find your purpose. And that word always became so stressful for me, because it felt like I was supposed to find a major or something. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got to find a major. I got to find my purpose. And it felt like this chore, but really understanding that purpose is, like you said, it is built within us, right? It is something that God created within us. It's this calling that was so beautifully crafted and created internally with us. And I'm someone that feels that our
calling and our purpose is designed in us, but it can manifest differently in different seasons.
Exactly.
And I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you feel like our purpose is the same throughout our whole entire life? Or do you think that it can ebb and flow depending on different seasons or different stages or things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd say I find purpose to be very closely linked with identity, right? Because that's who we're designed, how we're designed, how we're crafted. But that also really comes with who our identity is in that. So it ebbs and flows because your identity, who God created you to be, who God calls you to be, who he says you are, that doesn't change. Like I view it as like the fingerprint of God on your heart. But how it manifests itself, how it's used, how God utilizes you in your identity and purpose completely can change and ebb and flow over time. And for me, because I'm 46 years old, I can look back. So when I talk with people who have already maybe are going through a change or a life change or kind of wondering, where am I today? Where am I going? What's my purpose? You can sort of reflect and you can see the weaving. You can see the ebbing and flowing throughout your life. Whereas maybe a young purpose, like you said, they're kind of being told like you have to go aspire to this purpose thing, go find it. But they're just like learning. They're just stepping into their path and it's being shaped before their eyes, right? So I do believe it ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what made you decide that this is what I want to do? Like, I want to encourage people in this. Like, you woke up one morning and you're like, I would like to be a purpose coach. Like, I want to encourage people in this. Where did this all stem from?
Well, again, the benefit of looking backward for me, it really stemmed early on when I was a high school coach. So early on, I had just started my career at a company in finance, but I was coaching high schoolers in track and cross country in St. Paul. And I just loved being able to look at these young people and to see their potential and see their gifts, see what they couldn't even see in themselves. And so I feel like the Lord has just gifted me with this ability to see into people and see their gifts and their talents and their skills, the dreams that the Lord has placed in their heart. Like when they speak, I can just hear it come out of them. I was just speaking with a colleague the other day, and it's just, it bubbles to the surface. And so I think I've just always been called in that type of way, whether it was early on as a high school coach or whether it was in my career coaching younger employees or mentoring high schoolers or other colleagues. It's just been a pattern in my life of who I am. So I believe that's my identity, that the Lord has called me to be a coach, to be a helper, to be a guide, to be a facilitator.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And one of the ways you're doing that is you wrote a book.
I did.
And you wrote a book. You felt called that, I want to take what I have. I want to take this passion that I have and write to speak and reach more people. And so your book, Designed for Purpose, is actually a reflective journal.
It is.
And so can you share just a little bit about what this journal is and specifically to what your heart was for why you wanted to write this?
Yeah. So it's a 4-week period of time with daily guided reflection. So there's different categories to reflect on every single day with scripture. And each week starts with some exercises. First, it starts with kind of assessing where you're at. Then it starts looking a little bit about where you've been, and then where you've been, what your skills are, what does that mean for what you're doing right now, and then what does it mean for the dreams that the Lord has placed in your heart. But it's really about hearing God's voice and directing you, because He is He's not a God we learn about. He is a real, tangible, loving God who wants to intervene in our life, who does intervene in our life, but we're missing it. We're missing it because we're not pausing and stopping and seeing how He's moving in our life, how He's, I view it like a river, like how He's moving us along, and He's always seeking to bring us into His good plans that He's prepared in advance for us, right? So for me, this reflective journal is just a way for a person to step back on a daily basis. Very simple. It's a very simple tool to reflect on each day and ask yourself kind of, how did you see the Lord move today? What brought you joy? What pulled at your heart? Just how did you hear something in a song or a word from a friend? And how is that all weaving together for how you've been uniquely designed and for a purpose. However, how I came to write this was actually the result of a very challenging time in my life. So while I've always felt this love for helping people look at where you are today and where does the Lord want you to go in the future, really this reflective journal was born out of an extremely difficult time in my life. And so what I found myself was, even though I had been involved in women's ministry, even though I had been involved in children's ministry, I'd been a believer my whole life, I suddenly found myself in 2019 very far from God, very far from God. It was right before the pandemic, and I was just struggling in my marriage. And I kind of looked around myself, and even though I had like this amazing job, my career was going well, I just wondered, how did I get here? And I felt like I was just tired of striving. And I felt like I'm doing all this stuff, but my marriage is crumbling, it's falling apart. And I just felt like giving up. And I walked away from God for 2 years. I couldn't pray. I couldn't speak to him. Now, I had a wonderful friend with me through that whole time. She never left me, and she was always speaking from the Lord into me. Every day we'd go walking. But I just, the more my marriage crumbled, the more on the surface, right? You're trying to make things look perfect. I was trying to make things look perfect. I was trying to make it look like everything was still great, but things were really falling apart. Then the pandemic hit.
It really fell apart. Yeah, right?
And in 2020, I ended up going through the process of divorce. And early in 2021, I was still far from God. It had been about 6 months. And then that spring, my organization went through change, and my team was cut. So my career of 20 years, this amazing job that I was in that I felt was just like what I was crafted to do in kind of that business professional world was gone. And I really had to step back and ask myself, how did I get here? And how did I get to a place where I had completely just walked away from my Lord? And in May of that year, on my birthday, he just pulled me back in. And, you know, he never left me. He never left me. But I just felt like a supernatural intervention in my life to bring me back to him and to really experience his grace and his mercy in my life, to stop striving, to stop trying to be these things in the world, and really connect with his love for me and with that identity of how he saw me, not how I saw myself as this as a career woman, as a business success, or trying to have sort of this image, but really who he really crafted me to be.
That's beautiful. And thank you for sharing all of that. And as you were talking, I just kept hearing in my mind and thinking of, just as it even says and sharing it in your book, and it's just the power of reflecting. And so you have that ability to thrive. You know, that was one of the words that you use is having that ability to understand your purpose and thrive. And I think we have this false narrative in our mind of we need to just keep moving forward, just power through. And that's the society we live in. And just how powerful it actually is, though, to just sit and calm our mind and calm our spirit and reflect.
Right.
And we do sometimes have to sit and look back, and we have to sit and reflect, and we have to sit and look at our life to be able to power through and move forward. And we don't always give our time the space and the moment to do that because we're so busy, because of all the noise, because sometimes it's too painful, because we don't want to look on the inside. We don't want to look at what we've had to do in the past, or the painful things we've walked through in the past, or sometimes we don't want to look and hear from God and be confronted with the convictions that we have to sit and hear from him. So we just power through. But I think that what you have here is such a beautiful book that just has, I just love the tagline, and that's why I keep repeating it over and over again, is to help you understand your purpose and thrive every day by taking those moments to sit in the peaceful moment to just reflect in his stillness and peace. So that's just what I was hearing as you were talking. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, and what you just said about kind of having that time, going through the career loss actually was a huge blessing. So I took that time from May all through the summer. So I didn't have to work, and that's very uncommon, right? Where you just get time to step back, to have been provided for, and to just be with the Lord and to reevaluate. And so during that time, I just was reading Psalms and Proverbs every day, diving deep. There was a podcast I was listening to. So I was just really able to be, I think, in a place of being completely devoted to seeing how the Lord was going to move in my life, was moving in my life, and where he wanted me to go. So I just created these reflections as in my notebook. I was just looking back the other day, and I've got my old notebook that's got it hand drawn in these little categories. And from there, I just felt called that, this is something that could benefit other people.
Yeah.
And so that's how it kind of began to come together as a book.
Hey there. I want to interrupt for just a minute to tell you about the Single Moms Retreat coming up June 6th and 7th at Lake Geneva Christian Center. Are you a single mom or do you know one? This retreat is unlike any other, designed with their unique needs in mind. Bridging the Gap loves to encourage and support single moms over this Friday-Saturday event with car care, spa treatment, a diva boutique, incredible speakers, powerful worship, and so much more. Come to attend or as a volunteer. This year, we are honored to have Steph McDonald come lead us in worship, and we are thrilled to hear from Micah McDonald and McKelty Bloom as our main session speakers. Check out our website, mnbtg.org/retreat, for more information and to register, and we will see you there. And now, back to our conversation with Tanya Prince.
Let's dive into a little bit more about what's in your book. So you have in your book 6 categories of daily reflection that you use. Can you walk us through a little bit of what those 6 categories are?
Yeah, yep. So the first category is joy, happiness, and fulfillment. Back to that thrive. And the verse that I always think about with that is Proverbs 17:22. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries the bones. I really believe that we were meant to thrive in this earth, not just survive.
Yep, that's good.
All through Scripture, it's not about happiness. That's false. It's about joy. It's about that deep joy in being on this earth in a way that is true to our authentic self and a delight to the Lord. So he gave us gifts and talents to use for our benefit and his joy and his in our delight. So really that's the first one. So stepping back during the day and say, like, what really lit you up?
Yeah.
What was your passion? What was maybe an activity that time just passed so quickly, or you knocked out of the park and it just brought you just immense pleasure to do that. So for me, it's always been working with young people. Even though I was working professionally while I was coaching or working with kids in Awana. And so to me, that was kind of like that theme. And when you're looking back, it's a little easier, right, to see these recurring themes. But during your day, like what's really giving you energy versus like sucking your energy. And that doesn't mean that necessarily has to be a vocation. It might be, every time I talk to my friends or offer them an encouraging word, that just fills me. So maybe it's a particular gift of encouragement. And so in that case, maybe you have purpose in encouraging others, and it's not your vocation, right? But it's in your career or wherever you're interacting with people. That's how you're exercising your purpose and your gift. The second category is feeling a concern and a response to. So that's sort of that place where maybe we have a special concern for something in the world. And I think of Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So using our gifts to serve and help. Maybe there's something like an injustice, or maybe you see something where it's like, oh, that pulls at me. I feel like I need to do something. I feel called to intervene in that space. So that can be another place where as you reflect on your day, what just pulled at your heartstrings, what pulled at your sense of your spirit. Another category is gratitude. And that's very common, but that's really where we see how did the Lord weave together these things over time to result in provision, to result in an answered prayer, to result in something that we're thankful for in our life. So that's one of the most key places to really see how the Lord is in control, does have a plan for us when he's opening those doors, when he's closing those doors. So gratitude is just another really good one to see his real tangible movement in our life.
Oh, yeah.
And then doubt, fear, and obstacles. Our life is not free from barriers, worries, problems. But I do think about 1 Peter 5:8-9. Stay alert, watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. So we know that at the moment that we start following the path the Lord has for us, right, the enemy is going to want to come against us.
Yeah.
Now, not all obstacles or barriers are going to be necessarily an attack, right? Sometimes the Lord places good barriers in front of us to move us in a different direction. So in that particular reflection, part of the weekly exercises are discernment. So how to have a discerning heart to, and this is where like the day by day piece comes in, where you're able to weave, like, what does this mean? So journaling that, where did I get stuck today? Where did I have an obstacle? Where did something just go terribly wrong?
Yeah.
That's not how I envisioned it to be. And maybe you don't understand it in that moment, in that day, but day by day, as you start to see it and you start to journal and you're putting all these pieces together, that's where you can really discern, is the Lord moving me in a different direction, or is he strengthening me? Is he helping me to overcome this obstacle and growing me through that? Then the next one, this is actually, I first self-published. So now that I'm published through Morgan James, I made some edits along the way. So the next one, identity and strength. So because purpose is so connected to identity, what does the Lord say about who we are? So coming off the heels of that reflection on where you might have doubt or fear or obstacles, going right directly to, what does the Lord say? What is the truth about what he's saying in this circumstance, or about who I am, how he's crafted me to be? So it's just anchoring back into the truth of who God says we are biblically. And then the last one is, how did I see God move today? So that's kind of wrapping up all of the 5 kind of reflections into, okay, wow, what is the insight that I'm taking here? How am I hearing the Lord speak to me as I'm quiet and thinking about this and reflecting on my day? And it's really, Jeremiah 29:12-13. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. And throughout the journal, there's daily scripture. And really, ultimately, that's what formed this book, which is the Lord's promises that says, when you seek me, you will find me. When you knock, I will answer, over and over and over again. And because that's where I was in my life, where I was just coming off this really challenging time and returning to him, he answered me. And he answers us every single time. So leaning into that promise that when we seek him, he will respond.
That's good. So you do this for 4 weeks.
Yes. Yep.
For 4 weeks, you go through this process. 4 weeks, you are reflecting on, what did God show me? Where did I encounter God, today? And going through this intensive, we kind of is what it is, a 4-week intensive of seeking God, seeking his presence. So what is the hope then, right? You close the journal. It's been 4 weeks of this. You take a breath. Then what is your hope that somebody who closes that journal after 4 weeks, that they have experienced, that they're feeling after going through this experience?
Yeah. Above all, that they've deepened their relationship with the Lord, that they've learned how to see him and to hear him. At the end of the 4 weeks, maybe you've just moved closer and be able to discern, to hear from the Lord. And there's not going to be a magical at the end of 4 weeks, aha, I know my purpose. That's not the point. The point is discovering God's daily direction. It's about deepening our relationship with him, moving from the God who's over there to the God who's here right next to me. I think of some of my morning experiences with the Lord. And when you're sitting in his presence, you're I can physically feel like his hands on my shoulders for me. And everybody experiences the Lord differently.
Yeah.
But it's really about that personal relationship with him. Whether you're a mature Christian and deepening your knowledge of being able to hear from him, or whether you're not a believer and you're just beginning to wonder, what does this even mean? Like people say, I hear from God, or God speaks to me. What does that mean? So ultimately, that's the goal, is to grow closer to the Lord and to see that he loves you, that he cares about you, he's present in your life.
Yeah.
Whether you're a believer or not, just pause and you'll start to see it.
Yeah. I even think that, for me, so I shared with you, you had sent me an advance copy to start, looking through it. And I started going through it, and I haven't finished it all completely yet, but started going through it. And I even found for myself, it helped me to start to realize, oh, I didn't realize that I think that was God today. I thought that was just this, but me feeling this way or me experiencing that, I think that was God speaking to me. Or this feeling that I felt, oh, I think that was actually a gratitude that I should actually thank God for, or something that he put in my way I should give him thanks for. Like it did start to open my mind and realizations of God is more present in my life than I even give him credit for.
Yeah.
Like he is more present with me in the everyday walk than I even realized. And it just made me a little emotional one day at what a kind God that we have, that the God of the universe, the creator of the universe, cares about all of us so individually and uniquely that he cares about those little fine details of our average Wednesday.
Yes. Yeah.
Just a casual Wednesday. We're walking around and he cares just to give me a random free drink that the person in front of me offers to buy.
Yeah.
Just because I'm having a bad day and this person offers, hey, can I buy your drink today?
Yeah.
And Caribou, how did you know I was having a bad day?
Right.
It's just like he cares about us so much to do these little kind things for us.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to. He's got a lot of other things he's worrying about out there, and it's just those little things that kind of, as I'm sitting there reflecting at the end of the day, just like, oh, I just am going to give you a little bit more thanks today, God, and gratitude. So that's just one of the things that I was taking away from as I started this reflection. And I hope that other people who buy this and start to go through it can take away too. It just starts opening their mind a little bit more to the areas where God is present in their life in ways that maybe we didn't see it before.
Right.
And that reflective aspect. But has there been anything, just as we're wrapping up here, that maybe you, as you were creating this, you were like, oh, I'm creating this, but this is what I'm taking away from it as I'm the one making this book.
It's been a learning journey, and making the book actually came really quick, right? Because it was something I just sort of created for myself and felt led to put out in the world. But the marketing and the promotion after, that's where the Lord has grown me and stretched me and increased my trust in him. So while my experiences of going through divorce and career loss and drawing close to the Lord resulted in me creating this journal, the Lord has used it so much more to grow me since. And even as working with my publisher, there's this list of things you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to be everywhere. You're supposed to be all over. And the Lord just recently told me, he's like, nope, I got this. Like this, don't go strive again. That's my challenge. I'm always striving and doing. And he's like, no, trust me. I will lead you to where this is going to go. And he told me very clearly, I'm not an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm a purpose coach. Yes, I've created this book, but my gift is giving and generosity. So this is meant to be a gift. This is meant to be through my giving gift, not through like this business building or the becoming an author and selling books everywhere. No, this is back to my gifting and calling to give. And to invest in other people and to help and encourage other people. So I've really been learning and growing in that area of trust. And then the other piece is really comparison. So part of me in looking at this podcast is, look at all these amazing women who have been on this podcast. Who am I? And I even felt like a little bit attacked and and Satan kind of knocking at me and be like, who are you to have made this? And you're not a theologian. You didn't go to seminary. Who are you to do this? But really the Lord has said, no, this is your calling. I gave you this, and now I'm asking you to step out in faith and to be obedient. So trust and obedience, and just wherever this is going to go, wherever the Lord desires us to go, I'm just taking one day at a time and seeking to follow in obedience and follow so closely to Jesus during this season of my life.
I love that. Oh, I love that so much. Well, how can people get access to your book? Where can they find it? Where can they get in contact with you? Because you have your purpose coaching. So if people want to connect with you on that or just learn a little bit more about you, where can they do all of those things? Yeah.
So my website is greenvinecoaching.com, and green vine comes from John 15:5. That's my life verse, remaining in the Lord and bearing fruit and abiding. And so greenvinecoaching.com, can follow on Instagram, Facebook at Greenvine Coaching or at Design for Purpose Book. And it's available everywhere books are sold. So Barnes & Noble, Target, Amazon, it's there and available.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to being on the podcast. And I just hope that everybody listening just feels as encouraged as I do. And even as I've been going through, like I said, the journal and reflection, and just understanding that God is with us every day, and hoping that they take away as much as I have, and just take away as what your heart has been praying for, that they take away, and just a deeper reflection and a deeper acknowledgement of God and deeper relationship with God. So thank you for pouring your heart into this and being willing to come on and share about it. But it's been wonderful to get to know you, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have you on. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast. We were honored to hear from Tanya Prince on Designed for Purpose. You can learn more about Tanya and her work at her website, greenvinecoaching.com. Be sure to give her a follow on social media at Greenvine Coaching, where you can also find her new book, Designed for Purpose. You can learn more about Bridging the Gap at mnbtg.org or by following MNBTG on social media. And we invite you to take a moment to rate and review this podcast to help others find this resource as well. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to being with you next time on the Bridging the Gap podcast.